Who dictates you? Is it a crowd in your head? Who makes up that crowd? And how many within the crowd are really cheering you on?
Been playing up lately.
How long are you willing to do something, whether or not you enjoy it, without any sort of adulation? By which I have to ask myself that, because, and I am generally talking to myself in doing this, but in doing this, something I've always wanted to do, something that's taken a lot of years to just find myself enjoying. How much of that would I be willing to let go in favor of hypothetical misunderstanding, misinterpretation of people I'm not even in any sort of communication with? The imaginary judgment, in turn, I'm really judging myself, where there doesn't necessarily need to be any, or any at all. My intentions with this and the purpose I see for it with myself. The person I know I have inside of me that hasn't necessarily been, dare I say, revealed due to varying factors. There's a fear of expressing more what I know I'm capable of in any form. Fear of being heard, seen, based off whatever experiences in formative years or just over long periods of time, and in turn internalizing that and projecting that out, and thus being very stagnant in potential. And not to blame anything. There's taking note of derivative reasons, anything along those lines, but you feel bad about it, whatever it is, you can receive apologies, but ultimately you have to change. Something has to change. To what extent we can forget to love ourselves in favor of hypothetical critique and living vicariously through this imaginary judgment. And what does that not only say about ourselves, but society as a whole and social media, content? Are you content being you? Do you define yourself by content? Are you content? And are you exempt? The amount of times that I've allowed myself to sort of waver in wagering of what circumstances were in favor of expectations from other people. It seemed anytime I took myself away from what was truly calling me, what brought me true happiness, what was really invigorating and nourishing, it was much harder to get back into afterwards, because there was some sort of tax, some sort of toll, some trade-off in my compromise They just seemed to go along with what was on the surface level a seemingly better option. And it took a lot of time to get back to what initially came naturally to me, and that being creativity. What I was really flourishing in, flowing with, and going with the motions in a really positive way. And when I took myself out of that to please, by no coincidence, not to my sort of experience previous to, just ends up in a place of detriment to myself. So what's the lesson there? Because it's hard to maintain the very things that are of scrutiny in whatever shape or form. But what's even worse is betraying yourself and the price there is to potentially pay for it. Because the people that are trying to sway you, swindle, or even the thoughts in your head that you've internalized based off all the noise that is surrounding and encompassing you. Who really holds the compass for you other than your intuition, your heart, your soul, your spirit, your imagination? Because, and not just in appliance to me, but you see the intent for your future and what you're doing in the present. It might not be everything, not only that you want it to be, that you want it to look like, sound like, whatever it is, but you see the means and what it takes. And not everyone's going to have that vision. Now, a lot of the noise surrounding can be with good intention. They want what is best for you, people, that being, I'd assume, in whoever's case. For the most part, a lot of it is really just projection and people's mental limitations that they feel they have to juxtapose. And if there is any sort of ill will or malevolence, it's more so subconscious. Conscious. But you have to be mindful, especially when not having the full capacity to know how to deal with it, to counteract it in a healthy and positive manner. You definitely, I'm speaking of myself here, based off experiences, but to liberate oneself, but also being grateful and realizing the fortune in those who are always there for you. Absolutely. But to grow from that point and to reciprocate and relay, but that will come through serving what you were called to do. But yeah, just that brief summary for me. I feel it's a lesson I've been taught many times over. I don't think I have much else to say on it. It's not that deep. It's just a reminder for me, essentially. And if anyone feels it, you go through what you have to go through. A lot of it is, I don't know, I don't even have the, I don't have anything. Feeling kind of vapid today due to sleep and whatnot. I guess it's mostly on my mind because video stuff. Like I've always wanted to experiment and try. In part, I'm very glad I didn't at certain points in my life because it probably would have been rather embarrassing in retrospect. Yeah, just noticing certain things I didn't take on along the way that I really wanted to, and how long it has taken me in other areas that I've dedicated myself to. And that's life in many ways, but also for me in particular, more so than anyone I know, I do tend to take a lot more time than what would be needed for a typical person. Whatever that boils down to, I could make a few educated or presumptuous guesses as to why. Nevertheless, the longer it takes, the more you can learn, the more experience to withdraw from it. Not always necessarily by choice. Sometimes it takes multiple iterations of something for it to be really learned, or at least for me, for sure, to learn lessons and whatever. Currently still the mastering my music. Not like mastering the craft, but like actually setting it to a mastering service. I did take it upon myself to make a few attempts in mastering myself, but it wasn't really, it's just of my opinion, not to get too much off topic, or if there is even a topic, but in terms of tutorial based things on social media these days, and that pertaining to mixing and mastering, and I just have a respect for people that really live their whole lives up into something. They might be able to lend themselves to a few areas, whatever it may be. And now as artists, with limited budgets and no funding from record labels anymore, basically learning everything on your own and touching way more bases than anyone really should. I don't want to say should or shouldn't be. For me, my main focus is just what it used to be, the music, the content of that, and everything, you know. Those other specialized areas were for the people that were experts in that, generally. Grow up your whole life being particularly interested in one or a few more things, and you work your way up into it. The old school way, of course, actual studios with hardware and doing the practical work. Not that it always makes for a great engineer and anything, but of course it's great with the advent of technology and what we have at our hands today. But for me, to be taking that on as well as everything else is you know, like the music is already enough work as it is to get it to such a point, and then to take it upon yourself to be even more fatigued by it and like really take the magic out of it by mastering is not in my deck of cards. Or at least right now. I would like to learn in a hardware sense in the future, and even in a in the box sort of way. As for now though, yeah, it's still a matter of deciding in indecisivity, who, what, where, when, yeah, amongst everything else in life, like everyone else. Ugh. New strings are needed. Like, for all intensive self-awareness, I know so far the 2 videos I put out are boring, but long term I see another goal, or a lot of goals set out, not specifically just done in video, but just things I'll leave unspoken. The way I look at myself is very much so based off just a lifetime of experiences, interactions, things I've been told, things I've felt, things I've witnessed, everything. Like your most informative years, and then some genetic factors, experiential things, what have you. and who I really know myself to be deep in, how that could be a struggle to not only convince myself, but to talk in that way, to walk and tread in that way, but to do it in a righteous manner and to find a balance. Excuse the gum smacking. You know, I have a gum addiction. But yeah, generally, the person that I know within me who isn't boring, not to sound cheesy or anything, but the engaging, charismatic, comedic, whatever, whilst I see myself as a lot of negative things, and I can't dwell on it too much other than just realizing what the derivative is in whatever form, how much I contribute to that, and taking the action to change it, which is, of course, never easy. But it's a lot easier than living a way that you don't want to live, right?